I returned home after a long vacation, feeling eager to finally relax in the comfort of my own bed. As soon as I landed at the airport, I summoned an Uber, and a friendly driver named Paul picked me up. He seemed nice enough, but he was a bit too chatty for my liking. He kept asking me questions about my trip and my plans for the rest of the day. I politely answered his questions, but I couldn't wait to get out of the car. Once I arrived home, I thanked Paul and got out. I didn't think much of it at the time, but as I was unpacking my bags, I noticed that the Uber was still parked outside my house. I thought it was a bit strange, but I figured maybe Paul was just taking a break or something. I didn't pay it much attention and went about my day. That night, as I was settling into bed, I received a notification from my doorbell camera. It showed movement outside, and when I checked it, I saw that it was Paul, the Uber driver from earlier. He was standing outside my house, looking around. I was startled and confused, so I used the camera app on my phone to speak to him. "What do you want?" I asked, my heart racing. "You left your bag in the car," he said. I was confused because I didn't remember leaving anything in the car. In fact, I knew I didn't have anything missing at all. I immediately called the police, but when they arrived, he was nowhere to be seen. I showed them the footage from my doorbell camera. I spoke to the police again the next day, and they told me that the person in the footage didn't match the profile of the Uber driver. I was frustrated and scared, but I just hoped that they would get to the bottom of it. About a week later, I saw a news report that I couldn't believe. The Uber driver who had come to my house had been arrested for attempting to assault another passenger. It turns out that he'd been using fake IDs to create multiple Uber profiles, and he'd been preying on unsuspecting passengers for months. I was lucky that I had escaped unscathed, and I try not to think about how it could have turned out if I didn't have my door camera or hadn't called the police. I woke up in the middle of the night to a loud noise coming from downstairs. Panic already setting in, I slowly made my way down the stairs, trying not to make any noise. When I reached the bottom, I saw that the back door was slightly open. Someone had tried to break in. I immediately called the police and waited nervously for them to arrive. They searched the house and the surrounding area, but found no signs of the culprit. I was relieved that they didn't take anything and no harm was done, but I couldn't shake off the feeling of being violated. Days turned into weeks and nothing else happened. I started to feel like I was overreacting and that the break-in was just one of those things that happens and I'd been unlucky. I tried to forget about it and go on with my life, but the fear and paranoia lingered in the back of my mind. Then one morning, I went into the kitchen and found one glove and a book of matches on the counter, neither of which were mine, and they weren't there when I went to bed the night before. My heart sank as I realised that someone had been in my house again. I called the police again, and they searched the house once more. This time they found evidence that someone had been in the attic. There was a sleeping bag, some food wrappers and other small personal items. The police believed that the intruder had been staying in the house since the first break-in, either just needing somewhere to sleep, or worse, waiting for the right moment to strike. I was horrified by the thought of someone watching me all this time and invading my personal space. I felt violated and vulnerable, and the thought of someone being in the house with me the whole time was chilling. The police launched an investigation, but the intruder was never caught. I had to move out of the house and start over somewhere else, but the fear and paranoia stayed with me for a long time. Even now, years later, I still find myself going over what could have happened to me in that house, alone with a stranger. A few years ago, I was home alone with my younger sister for the first time, while our parents were away for the weekend. Our house was in a remote area, surrounded by a bit of land. We were excited to have the house to ourselves and planned to enjoy our time alone. We decided to order pizza and eagerly awaited for the delivery guy to arrive. When he did, he told us that there was a guy at the end of our driveway with binoculars, looking at our house. We were both a bit freaked out, but my sister tried to calm me down. I went outside to take a look, but I couldn't see anyone. I shrugged it off and went back inside to eat pizza and watch a movie. My sister went to her room to study, and I stayed in the living room watching the movie. 2 or 3 hours passed and I'd pretty much forgotten about what had happened earlier, when suddenly I heard a loud noise coming from the back of the house. I got up to run upstairs to check on my sister, when I came face to face with a man climbing through the window. We both stood there in tense silence, looking at each other. I knew I had to get to the stairs, but we were locked in this weird, tense stare-off. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore and made a dash for it. I ran to my sister's bedroom and locked the door behind me. The man began banging on the door, trying to get in. I called the police and told them what was happening. They told me to stay on the phone with them and try to stay calm. I looked for a way out and saw that we could climb out of the window onto the flat garage roof. I helped my sister climb out and we waited anxiously for the police to arrive. When they did, they arrested the man attempting to make his way out of the house and took him away. He turned out to be connected to a bunch of other burglaries. It really bothered me that the guy had seen that there was someone home and he still tried to break in. I feel like we were lucky to have escaped unharmed. After that experience, we made sure to always lock our doors and windows, even when we're home.